What is going on, everyone? The 76ers are in an interesting spot now in the Eastern Conference. Kawhi Leonard, he's out of here. He's out west. He's playing for the Clippers. He's with Paul George. They have a different type of mindset over there playing in the West. The Sixers, they have a chance. The window is now open. And what does this mean? What does this mean for the Sixers now that Kawhi Leonard, or realistically no other superstar, is in the Eastern Conference? We can take a look at the Bucks, the Celtics, the Toronto Raptors, the Nets, hell, even the Pacers. Do the Sixers have a better roster? Are they more capable of getting to the NBA Finals than those other squads? Now, I will counter by saying this. With sports, before the season, especially in football when people go through the divisions, the conversation is, well, this should normally happen, that should normally happen. What I'm referring to is something similar to what the Boston Celtics went through last year. Oh, they added Kyrie Irving. Oh, they added Gordon Hayward. They're going to win 60 games. They're going to win the NBA Finals. Well, look what happened. It doesn't always work the way that you just think it will. Right now, you see on paper a lot of different concepts. What will actually go down? Well, that's the intriguing part. But taking a look at this Sixers roster and what they're built for, and what else is around the Eastern Conference now that Kawhi has left? The opportunity is there. The chance is there. And realistically, I want to see this Sixer squad get that first or second seed in the East. It's hard to guess a win total or to state a win total because you're going to have games where Embiid is going to rest. Now that we have a mindset of we want to win a championship, the regular season, it doesn't mean as much. It doesn't mean as much. There's going to be plenty of times where we're going to sit a guy. We're going to sit two guys. We might rest three guys because rest is more important. We just watched how successful that was with Toronto and Kawhi Leonard, and that was a big reason for their success because in playoff time, they weren't as fatigued because they didn't have to play as much. Back-to-backs and other type of games. Players rested. So it's hard to guess a win total. But the top two seeds, that's important to me. I want to see the Sixers have 2 rounds minimum of home court advantage. Potentially 3 if we get the 1 seed and we get to play in the Eastern Conference Finals. When you look at the Boston Celtics, they lose Kyrie Irving, they lose Al Horford. Of course, they pick up Kemba Walker and Enes Kanter, some other pieces around that's going to be filled in and out. They don't have the type of team that can take us down. They don't have the type of team that's going to be able to be as brutal defensively. And when I say brutal, I mean tough to play against. The Celtics aren't going to be able to compete with us. Who is, though? Who is the Bucks? I'll give it to the Bucks. People want to knock the Bucks because they lose Brogdon and they're really not this team. I disagree. I tend to disagree. Giannis is a monster. He's a freak. He's tough to bring down. And he's only getting better year after year. I'm not saying the Sixers can't beat them, but it's not going to be a walk in the park. They're bringing back their core. They're bringing back their style of play. They're going to be hard to compete with. That's a team I look at in this Eastern Conference and say, yeah, they have potential just like we do to get to the NBA Finals. You can't just write them off. And on top of that, they have some fire built under them from what happened last year, being up 2 games to the Raptors and falling apart there in the Eastern Conference Finals. They have a mindset of they're pissed off. Now, so do the Sixers. The quadruple doink will live in our brains forever. But moral of the story is, I look at the Bucks and say, well, they can compete just like we can compete. To think that they can is silly. So the Bucks is a squad that I look at. The Celtics, you know, they're okay. Kemba Walker, Enes Kanter, they're going to be a top 4, top 5 team in the Eastern Conference. They're okay, but they don't scare me like the Bucks do. The Bucks are the only real team to scare me at the point where I think they have potential to beat us, of course. The Nets, without Kevin Durant there, just Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving alone doesn't scare me too much. I think he has this narrative of, you know, he thinks it's his team is going to be jacking up a lot of shots. It changes what the Nets were from last year with D'Angelo Russell. Not a bad team, a playoff team, but once again, not deep enough, not old enough without Kevin Durant to take down the Sixers in the playoffs, in my opinion. Toronto, you have Serge Ibaka, Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam, who's an up-and-coming player who's developing year after year. But losing Kawhi Leonard, I'm sorry, it's not going to be enough to actually be able to battle with the top dogs in the East. They're not going to have it. They're going to take a step back. Fans are out there saying, look at this roster. We're this core that went through it. We're this core that experienced playoffs. That's all great and dandy. Show me a team who made the NBA Finals in the last, 10 years that didn't have a legitimate star. I'll be here waiting. Guess what? There isn't one. There just isn't one. And if you do end up finding one throughout the last 20 years, 30 years, it's a fluke. It's a fluke. Stars win. Stars win. Stars get to the finals. What other squads are in the East? The Pacers, intriguing. They do get Brogdon with that restricted free agency move that they pulled on Milwaukee. Victor Oladipo coming off injury, and Oladipo was a dog before the injury, keep in mind. Now, he has to recover, and normally it takes more than a season to get back to your full self. Interesting team. But once again, not a team that I think will be able to execute against the Sixers. The defensive intensity that we're going to bring, the two big men of Al Horford and Embiid, Ben Simmons being able to defend at any position possible, Josh Richardson being a dog defensively. Tobias Harris is the guy that's going to get targeted to the level of J.J. Redick last year because J.J. Redick got abused defensively. Well, now the person who's going to get abused the most is probably Tobias Harris, and that's a big difference when it comes to capability of defending. Now, I'm not saying Tobias Harris is a good defender. He's average, but he's willing, and we have four guys who can help him. The Bucks, when I look at the Eastern Conference, are the only team that makes my eyebrows raise when I talk about going to the NBA Finals. But, with that being said, I don't think I would be satisfied with an Eastern Conference Finals loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. It's NBA Finals time. This roster is built to get to the NBA Finals. Do I have questions about the bench? Yeah, I do. I'm sorry, but Mike Scott being a sixth man, you're in a better shape when Mike Scott is more like your eighth man. James Ennis, he made things happen last year when he was battling with Jonathan Simmons for that spot, and he made big plays in the playoffs. I don't know if that's truly him, though. We're going to need people to step up. Zaire Smith, Matisse Thybulle, we're going to need people to step up because I'm not sold on this bench. We're in a similar situation from last year. And if we're counting on rookies, Zaire Smith and Matisse Thybulle, if we're counting on them to be the big difference makers, it's a little scary. It's a little scary, but we'll see how it all plays out. I'm not sold on the bench. That scares me. But with that being said, with our power in that starting five, we should be able to get to the NBA Finals with what is in the Eastern Conference. Ben Simmons is going to have to take a big step in his game. He knows it. Everyone knows it. Joel Embiid has to stay healthy. He needs to keep himself in shape. Do I think Al Horford's going to help him do that? Yeah, he's a mid-30-year-old who's been, in his career, ready to go, available. I think he can help Joel Embiid in that category. We're going to have to learn who's going to be that go-to guy. Is it going to be Tobias Harris? What's the situation with the way we run the dribble handoffs? What about the pick and roll? Al Horford is now a guy that we can use with that pick and roll game. With that game up at the top of the key with a big man. And still be able to use Joel Embiid effectively. There's a lot of questions, but we have what it takes. We have the ability. With the roster being as successful as it can be, I'm talking NBA Finals with this squad. Kawhi Leonard leaving opens the door. No one scares me. The Greek Freak, he's a great player, but he's still young, he's still raw, and he's beatable. I know he has the ability to take over games, and hell, Al Horford made it tough for him last playoffs, keep in mind. I know the Greek Freak has the ability to do that, but with our five, and if our unit plays the way that they play, it's there. The door is there. And that makes me so intrigued going into this season. Makes me so intrigued. Pressure's on. There's no other way I would want it to be. The pressure being on means we are capable. Means there are expectations. And there's no better place to be in with an organization, with a franchise. Because that means you're ready to win. This team is ready to win. The growing pains of Ben Simmons, it's going to have to eventually stop. He's going to have to be the guy. Who's going to be the Jimmy Butler and the takeover guy? Will that be Ben Simmons? Probably not, but can Tobias Harris be that? Can Joel Embiid be that as a big man? Why not? Why not? They're going to have to step up to the plate and make it happen. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.